Welcome back, fearless founders. Today I want to share a story with you of my client that I just had a conversation with. A client who wanted to create a new service with a 20K price tag. Now, a decision like this usually comes with a certain set of fears and sometimes limiting beliefs. So her main objection was, so how do I charge 20K when I'm actually scared? And how do I know that people will pay this kind of money? Because it's a lot. Now, we talked about how she thinks the person that is her ideal client will see themselves. So the first rule is not to try to change someone's worldview, but rather use it to your advantage in your marketing, social media presence, and your brand positioning. So I will give you an example. Imagine there are two people that are trying to buy a car. A car in its basic form needs to take you from point A to point B. Now, these two different people will buy very different cars. The first one will buy a car in the range of 10,000–15,000 and they will be pretty happy with it. The second will buy a car for 1 million. Now, what's different about these two people? Does the car actually change their perception of the world? Does the car do something different for them? And the answer is yes and no. So I gave my client this situation to compare and I asked her questions. So what do you think is different about the person A who buys the car for 10–15,000 and the one who buys a car for 1 million? And immediately the first thing that came to her head was the way they see themselves. And this is often the case with your potential clients. A person who buys a product which is a low-cost product will see themselves very differently than the person who buys a product for 1 million. And similarly in the coaching and consulting industry, a person who buys the cheapest possible, the small little membership or the small course, will be at a different level and they will see themselves very differently than a person who will invest thousands into a service or a product. Now let's have a look how different these people will usually look at themselves. The person who buys a product for very little money is usually, in the context of an online world, a person who either is dipping their toes in online business, they haven't really invested yet, so they're just trying to be safe, to be secure. They're scared to spend more money, they're scared to invest in themselves, they might not feel that they are worth it. So they are at the journey of actually discovering that they deserve to have an investment in themselves in the form of knowledge or support. Whereas the person who is ready to spend the 20K or 15K, however much that can be, is a person that's much more self-aware. They may still be scared to invest such an amount of money because it's quite a lot for some, of course. It's about perception, but at the same time, this person is much more aware of what they want, what they need, and they will highly likely value this service way more than the person will value this little thing that they bought. Because when you start out, you don't really know what you need, what you want, and therefore anything that you get, you're going to have to put a little trust, sometimes a lot of trust, onto the creator. So because you don't know, you have no other option but trust. Whereas with the higher offer, which is usually comes with a set of personalization, personal approach, then this person knows what they want, what they need, and they just want someone to have a bigger, more bird's eye perspective. They have so much in their head, knowledge, experience, and thoughts, that they just want someone to actually help them get out of their head and provide a service that will be almost like a partnership and a collaboration. Whereas the dynamic in the first relation, where the product is cheaper and less costly, usually is that the person, because they don't know anything just yet, or they know very little, they rely on the service provider to be the guide and to be the teacher for them, because they don't know anything. They are just dipping their toes, and it's usually the beginner or the person that maybe is somewhere further in a business and yet they don't trust themselves with their decisions. The person who buys or invests in a service or product who is at a higher ticket is a much more aware person, is a person that firstly they feel empowered about themselves, they feel they deserve it, and they make decisions more consciously because they know that any investment will bring the return to their business and their life. So here's how, on the very basic level, the difference between low ticket and high ticket works, and most importantly, how the person sees themselves in a relationship of buying, in a purchasing decision, will matter for you on how the price will be perceived. And remember that the price and the value is in the eyes of the beholder. The price might be high or low, but the value seen will be in the eyes of the beholder, similarly like with beauty. So let me give you another example. So a person who is about to spend $1,000 or maybe $500 will look at a service which provides an insight or one thought, one sentence, very differently than a person who's already done quite a lot in their life, who's experienced a lot, who have the knowledge about themselves and about their clients and about their business very differently. Because if you think I'm paying in a sense of the exact transformation, if you think I'm paying someone just to have one insight over one session or over one week or so, when you think about it this way, this is just one thought. I could have come up with it myself, right? So if you're just starting out, you will see it from this perspective, very likely that, well, I've done it myself. I thought this thought myself. But you won't see the fact that you thought about it with the assistance and with the partnership of the person that helped you think this way, right? Because you don't know how to think this way. Whereas the person who sees the insight, the one thought that could have changed the whole trajectory of his or her business from a very, very different perspective. So the person who invests more will see it as a much more valuable thing. In fact, there are people who pay $100,000 for just 1 hour of coaching. Why do they do that? Because they know that this one thought that they come up with the assistance of their partner, and partner here meaning a coach, a mentor, or a consultant, with this one thought, they can change the whole business because their cognitive capacity is at a level where they just need little cues for the brain, right? To connect the dots that I have been collecting and the puzzles that they have been collecting throughout the years. Whereas the person that is on the beginning of the journey, they don't trust themselves, they don't trust their own decisions, and yet their ego is so high that they think that they actually came up with everything themselves because the thought of having someone being part of their success just is crippling for them. So this is how the difference in perception of the price and of the value of a certain service or product looks like from the perspective of psychology, and what the potential client, the lead prospect, sees and how they think about themselves. Now, a few tips for yourself. In your marketing, in your social media presence and brand positioning, don't try to change someone's worldview. Use it to your advantage. Now, knowing your target audience, that's number 2, will allow you to use their perception of themselves to be used to your advantage again in your business, in your copywriting, sales pages, in your marketing communication. When you relate your message with how they feel on the inside, it's going to be much more successful than as if you were to enforce or impose how they feel or how they should feel. And finally, when selling a program, product, service, or a course, or maybe mentoring or coaching, remember that knowing is one thing, and feeling and being able to fully embody what's in front of us is another thing. So you might be explaining everything on a logical level, but if you don't first get related to them on an emotional level, no price, no service, no product will matter, because they won't see the benefits of it if they don't relate to what you're about to say, if they don't relate to the message that's in front of them. So remember, when it comes to order of things, when you're selling and you're marketing, first start with a story, with the relationship, and then add the logistics, which is the features at the end. So benefits first, logistics second. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Also, Let me know in the comments below if you've ever had a situation where you've seen that the way your client, your prospect sees themselves affects the whole sales process.